fellas, poll question: who finishes higher out of the Blues and the Pies, and who wins the elimination final at the G with 100,000 full to the brim? But you wanted to post something in relation to those both those clubs, King.
Yeah, who's had the better year, Michael Voss or Craig McRae? Who's had the better year? So can I just strip it back a fraction and go where they've come from? Okay, so last season, Carlton 8-14 with a percentage of 88.5 percentage points. McRae took over a lower ranked team, 6-16, but had a percentage of 85.6. So pretty much the same. 2 percentage points to split them. Both used 39 players last year. Collingwood had more debutants. So you can mount a case that they'd started this resurgence of the list. I love to look at which of the two teams were younger more often than not for the round. So last year, Carlton were more experienced than Collingwood 11 times, and the reverse happened. Collingwood were more experienced than Carlton 11 times.
What champion data package gives you that information?
Don't worry about you're not fully subscribed yet. So there's no real gap.
How do I get a subscription?
So that's the starting point, okay? So I think when you look at this year's returns, 12-6 versus 13-5. So Collingwood are slightly in front. But if you look at the percentage, Carlton's percentage is 115.5 percentage points. Collingwood's 106. Yes, they've won one more game. So Vossi's percentage year on year has improved 27 percentage points. Collingwood's has improved 22.5. They're both significant jumps. The jumps in terms of attack and defence is a net gain at Carlton of 22 points and net gain of Collingwood of 17 points. So all numbers, for me, lead to Carlton. And I think their assets now are stronger in terms of building something that can win you a flag. I think their assets are more statistically endorsed than the Collingwood assets.
Right. The story of the week has probably been, I like to start with the story of the week. It's 7 o'clock on a Friday morning. It's probably the race for Clarkson as the Giants met with him for a third time and your North Melbourne Kangaroos well down their desire to select Alistair Clarkson as their coach. Firstly, before we get your opinion on this, I want to hear from Dave Matthews, the Giants CEO, the possibility of the Giants asking for help to pay for Clarkson.
I think we would. I think it reminds you of the days when Lee Matthews went to Brisbane Lions and what the sort of halo effect was there. But I think first and foremost what we've got to do is, we've got a very good incumbent at the moment in Mark McVeigh. There's a number of other senior assistants around the competition that we're talking to as well. And then there's Alistair Clarkson, and all those things need to go into the mix. But certainly his profile is something that's pretty significant.
It's getting tight, Kingy. Do you think it is now down to 2 for Alistair Clarkson? Jared said yesterday that he's not sure it'll be either of those two.
Who did he say?
Well, he didn't give a third option, but he just said he's not sure whether Clarkson would choose those two.
Well, I don't understand why you wouldn't choose the Kangaroos. I'll tell you what, I heard your thoughts this week.
You make the case for the Kangaroos, and I'll counter.
I'll go the other way.
Yeah.
I think the Giants list is about to undergo some mid-table trauma for about 5 years.
Mid-table trauma.
They're going to be stuck in no man's land. Mid-table trauma.
St Kilda land.
Because if you look at their list, if you have a close look at their list, okay, and I've done this. So Toby Green's 29 in 2 weeks. So if Clarkson's to go there, he's not going there to hang in and limp into the 8 or try and potentially win one flag with this group that's, I think, right at the end of its tether. A lot of long-term contracts, so tying up a lot of finance. Who are their best players under 25 years of age? Under 24 years of age? I mean, Tom Green, he's been in and out of that team recently. Sam Taylor's a star. Who else? Who else are you going to lock away and say, yep, they are the guys taking me to the promised land?
But they're not the ones that are going to win you the flag that he wants.
But they're the next
ones
flag, aren't they?
The ones that are going to win you the flag and are more likely to get you is Coniglio, it is Kelly, it is Whitfield, it is Green,
when was Whitfield's last big game?
Himmelberg. Well, I'm not massive on his last 2 seasons, but at his best, we were talking about him as the premier running wingman / defender in the game. So he has the ability to be that. Does a new coach bring that in? I think their core group of experienced players is more likely to give Clarkson what he wants than it is at North Melbourne. But you continue. I'm on the Giants camp that if I was Clarkson, I'd select there. You'd select North. So
Well, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be jumping at the Giants because of their list. I think they've got they're tied up with financial arrangements. I think that they've got guys that are 27, 28, 29 that give you an opportunity immediately. But outside of that, you are back to almost the draft exclusively, and that's a troubled time for the Giants. This is a club that needs everything going for it. We need to continually give them opportunities to thrive. That's why I don't mind the suggestion from Dave Matthews of Clarkson and some allowance for the AFL, because you do need a big ticket item out there. And if it is the coach, great. If it's not a Lance Franklin type,
you're not offended by them asking for help.
No. I think all clubs in these unique situations should put their hand up for assistance. So the Kangaroos, do they need a priority pick more than a coach? Probably. So if they missed out on Alistair Clarkson because the AFL are funding the Giants, funding his wage for the Giants outside of the soft cap, well, I would understand that. But you can't say, oh, we're going to prioritise that club and then we're going to give that club nothing.
So then make me the case for North Melbourne, because no one's looking for a coach that is flying. So you sack your coach for a reason. So you're never going to walk into a club that has everything in a row and ready to go. All these clubs have challenges. I personally think the Giants are more stable off the field, and it's a more senior environment, and it is more lucrative, I think, for Clarkson to go there. So then build me a case for North Melbourne as to why, if you were Clarkson, you choose them over the Giants.
Well, I think they've got a core of 5, maybe 6 young guys under that 24-year-old and under bracket. That in the end, they're all that get through. I've talked about Melbourne's rebuild so many times. They had 4 guys get through from 2013 to the premiership season, and one of them didn't even play, Nathan Jones. So the other 3 were, I think it was McDonald, Gawn, and Viney. So it's not like 20 players get through. They don't. So I think a coach can come in and have an enormous impact on the Kangaroos. They are at the shallow end of the pool in terms of football intelligence on field, the way they play, the ball movement, the system, all those sorts of things. Preparation, I think you can have an enormous impact on that. Uniting a football club. There's so many gains to be had at the Kangaroos right now. That's why I think Alistair Clarkson would be given more scope to be himself at the Kangaroos than any other club. They're not going to rein him in. They're not going to say, come in and do...
What does he do for the whole... So I think North need him more than the Giants need him. So I think the Giants will be okay if they don't get Clarkson. I think North need to get him because of that.
Why?
Because of that...
Why are they desperate? No one's desperate.
Well, didn't say they are desperate, but I think it is so important for them to get him because all of a sudden... You have Horne-Francis go, okay, Clarkson's here. The prospect that he's in behind Clarkson, young Ashcroft might go, okay, well, I'm going to go number 1 in the draft rather than go father son because Clarkson's going there. So there's the possibility of that. Then you get some recruits in, and then you get some assistant coaches that go, oh, well, I've seen all the other assistant coaches under Clarkson have gone on to do big things. I'm going to go there and work under Clarkson for 4 years to develop myself. You might get a list manager that is at the top of the tree that wants to work with Clarkson. So I just think Dave Matthews spoke about the Lee.
That would be a strange discussion, the list manager working with Clarkson. I'm not sure about that.
But if you can tame Clarkson in that space, it's a good challenge. I'd be challenged by. I'd love the challenge of the list manager to work under Alistair Clarkson and challenge him back as much as he will challenge you.
Yeah, well, you haven't got the power. It's a power struggle you can't win. How can a list manager challenge Alistair Clarkson and come out on top in the first 3 years at whatever club he goes to? No hope.
But that's the role. You have to challenge him.
The list. You can pluck me the strongest list manager in the world. If Clarkson goes to North Melbourne, he has the dominant say in every decision for the first 2 to 3 years.
And is that right? So
I don't know whether it's right or not, but they're the facts. You're not getting Clarkson in to not listen to him. You're not. He has to come in, and that's why I think he has more scope at North Melbourne. Do I think it would be great for the game if he went to GWS? 100% I do. But so they're the sorts of discussions. It's a win-win for the AFL. But I just hope he selects one of those clubs.
Do you hope he selects North?
Do I hope he selects? No, not really. I'm not hell bent on one or the other. I think there's high quality people out there. There really is, and there's no trust in them until you actually see it. Like Craig McRae, no one spoke about Craig McRae 2 years ago. No one. And all of a sudden, Collingwood are in love with what they've got, and they say this is our long-term future, and every component of the footy club's improved. So there's not the Messiah effect is overblown for me. Would he be a great fit for the North Melbourne or GWS football clubs? Absolutely, but so too Ross Lyon for me. I think that Ross Lyon would be great at the Kangaroos.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think the halo effect that Matthews is talking about, Lee Matthews would have on that club is significant, and it automatically makes North Melbourne relevant again. They're in the news again. The fans are excited. The players are excited. The staff, I think, are nervous but excited. I just think it makes them instantly relevant if Clarkson goes to North.
Spot on, it does. But do you agree with me the mid-table trauma for the Giants over the next few years?
I'm a bit more glass half full on the Giants because we can get down in the dumps. We were very down in the dumps on Collingwood last year, probably 2 years ago, Melbourne, similar. I just think if you've got the best player in the game, and whether he's 1, 2 or 3, Toby Green, I think that helps in the prime of his career. You've got a really strong midfield. You've got a couple of young players that are important, and then you can make some moves. I think they got picked, another good first-round draft pick this year, pick 4. They've held on to that. I'm not as down in the dumps on the Giants as some others are. Why is no one speaking about Justin Leppich as a potential senior coach? Because I am a big fan, and the reason I am a big fan is because I think you are better, clearly, second time around. If you follow the Voss model, didn't work that great for him at Brisbane. 3 seasons, he went 14 and 52, lost his job there, but you're clearly going to be a better coach, senior coach, second time around. He went to Richmond at the end of 2016. Good timing, took over their forwards there. 3 flags later, was a bit burnt out at the end of 2020, took a break, spent a year in the media and dominated in that space, and everyone was really impressed with his work. Went back to Collingwood as head of strategy, and you can look at their resurgence. So I would think outside of the Clarkson, Lyon, Don Pike sort of people, he would be as well qualified as any of the, I'm not going to say younger, but as any candidate currently going, and I just haven't heard his name mentioned that much.
Great call. And this is what I talk about. There are a lot of different options. It's what fits your football club. You know, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach with coaching, and Lepper's clearly a better product now than what he was when he first started at Brisbane, and he will get more support where he arrives next up. There's no doubt in my mind he'll coach again. Absolutely no doubt, especially given what Michael Voss has done.
Yeah,
and Brett Ratton to a certain degree.
And the work under Craig McRae, I think this year, I mean, they've had their challenges as well. So the cross section of dealing with controversies like Jordan De Goey, I mean, that's good experience for coaches. They have to be able to deal with things like that, and clearly he has the media nous and capabilities to do that as well. So I just want to put that out there that we should be talking about Justin Leppich more so than we are of the potential coaching candidates. Talk to me about some teams on the periphery of the finals and how far they can go.
I want to know what's real, and more specifically, who's real. Are the Dogs real?
I don't know.
Are the Dogs? We're going to find out against the Cats. Are the Dogs? Are they a serious player or not? Are Fremantle a serious player or not? They can play Melbourne tonight. Make a statement, Fremantle. You know, do it again. They did it over here against Melbourne and shook up the world a little bit in an AFL sense. Are Brisbane a serious contender? I've got massive doubts on Brisbane, but if they come down and smash the Tigers at the MCG, you have to change your thoughts. So who's real and who's not? I'm wondering. I think this weekend will give us a lot of clarity on what's happening in the next month or so.
Yeah, you want to start playing good now. Like, you've got to have a good runway to the finals. You know, you've spoken about that. We've spoken about it. You want to be in good form. And apart from Geelong and Sydney, so I think Sydney are real. I think Geelong are real. But apart from that, I'm not convinced on any of those that you just mentioned there. Just on the Dogs, were you surprised that they omitted Alex Keith when they're taking on Cameron and Hawkins?
Well, not really.
Yeah.
Not really, because what is he an intercept player? Is he a one-on-one lockdown? If he's a one-on-one lockdown player, well, maybe he's been beaten too often. I think the coach, clearly they know more information than us, but no, I'm not surprised by that.
Zane Cordy comes back in, so he probably plays that role, and Caleb Daniel is in as well. Big injury for the Cats. Reece Stanley is out for up to a month with that knee, but you spoke about ruck depth. Well, they've got Jonathan Segler and Handy as well. He comes back in as well. If you want to put something on the agenda, you can do so. 0433 98 11 16. So Tom Papley we touched on with with Horse there, and I know you were big on the role that he's been playing. Is there anyone else in the competition that he's underutilised in this space?
Yeah.
I reckon they've got another one at Sydney.
Franklin.
Franklin's underutilised. You think he can go on ball? Send a bounce.
Horse hasn't.
He
Horse
said he'd
laughed
laugh.
at me. He laughed at me.
He said
But then he told us about the in-depth conversation he's having with him. How you going, bud? Yeah, good, thanks,
Yeah.
John. How you going? Yeah, no worries. Yeah, catch
good.
you later on. Yeah.
go get him.
Like, come on, Horse. Give him a chance in there.
So why can't Zach Bailey do this? Why can't
He does. He's
you think
in
he
awful form, Zach Bailey.
Yeah. So what? I wonder why that is.
Well,
And-
maybe I think COVID knocked him around a fair bit. But
Okay.
you're right. Who is so Tom Papley? There's an alarming number. So he's 55% of his possessions he's involved in scoring chains with 55% of his possessions. So every second time he touches it, the Swans score. That is an amazing number. It's the highest of anyone in the competition in the last 6 weeks. So he is. You could mount a case, and I know you love doing this. He could be right now the number one player in the competition, and people will laugh at you for that.
Will
I
you
still
be
have
upset?
Cameron. I still have Jeremy up there.
Will you be upset if he's not in the All Australian team at the end of the year?
If he's not the
'Cause
All Australian,
at the
team, I
moment-
will ask for people to
at
be
the moment,
ejected immediately.
David King has 50 players in the 22 for the All Australian
He's a
team.
forward pocket. Why can't he be in there?
You've got players.
You've got a
everywhere.
midfielder there, haven't you?
You've got.
You
I don't
got-
have
you
anyone
got a
there.
midfielder there.
Well, no, I don't
Oh,
have.
we got
You've
Dangerfield in the pocket.
players. You've got 50 players in the All Australian
What do you
team
mean?
this year.
I didn't
You
say
just
he was
keep-
All Australian. I just said he could be the best player in the comp right now.
Yeah,
for the last
no.
6
I
weeks.
said, would you be upset if he wasn't? In the
I'm
All
not. I'm not
Australian?
upset about anything, but I would be surprised if someone that was considered the best player for a third of the season wouldn't be in the All Australian team.